Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're looking at something really quite fascinating. It's this challenge, almost science fiction, right? How do we get artificial intelligence working in healthcare?
Mm-hmm.
Getting to patients quickly, but,
Yeah.
well, it has to be absolutely safe, completely safe.
Yeah.
You've got these brilliant AI ideas, things that could change diagnosis, change treatment, but they risk getting stuck.
Yeah.
Stuck in old regulations, baby. Regulations from a different time.
That's exactly it.
So how do we speed up innovation, but do it responsibly?
That's precisely what we're digging into today. Our mission really is to unpack this thing from the MHRA, that's the Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency. They got this pioneering program called the AI Airlock.
AI Airlock, okay.
And we're going to explore how this initiative, it's quite groundbreaking, aims to safely fast-track these AI medical devices to patients here in the UK, trying to bridge that exact gap you just mentioned.
Okay, so to get our heads around this, we looked at a press release. It came out today, June 23rd, 2025, direct from gov.uk.
Fresh off the press.
Yeah, and it talks about the program getting bigger and some really quite impressive early wins. So what we've done is pull out the key bits, give you the shortcut to understanding what's going on with this really important development.
Sounds good.
So let's start right at the beginning, this AI Airlock program. What is it, basically, at its core, and why is it such a big deal?
Okay, so the MHRA has just opened up applications again, a second round, for what they're calling a first-of-its-kind regulatory testing ground.
First of its kind.
Yeah. And it just got a boost to about £1 million extra funding.
Wow, okay.
And its purpose, fundamentally, is to create this direct line, this pathway, for companies developing AI medical tech to work with the regulators.
Directly with them.
Directly with the MHRA experts, yeah, to safely test these new devices. And the big idea is to figure out quicker, more streamlined ways through the regulations to get these innovations to patients faster.
And I love the analogy they use for it. It's described as being similar to an airlock on a spacecraft, creating this sandbox area for testing. It forms, they say, a boundary between experimental AI and fully approved medical technology used in the real world.
That paints such a clear picture, doesn't it?
It really does.
A controlled space, but one you can pass through, sort of suggests balance.
It absolutely does suggest balance. And, if you zoom out a bit, this isn't just some random idea they cooked up.
Okay.
This program, it links directly to commitments the government made in its AI Opportunities Action Plan.
Okay. Part of a bigger strategy.
Exactly. And also their response to a big report on AI as a medical device from the Regulatory Horizons Council. And what's really interesting, I think, is that it's got backing from the government's new Regulatory Innovation Office, the RIO.
RIO, right.
And their whole job is to help regulators try out new ways of working, more agile ways, more flexible, that can actually keep up with how fast tech like AI is moving.
So less red tape. That's the aim. Cut unnecessary red tape, make the UK, more attractive for innovation. It feeds right into the government's broader plans, backing growth industries, supporting the NHS to innovate, and just speeding up tech that helps patients. It's a different way for regulators to think, really, not just gatekeepers.
Or like enablers.
Yeah.
Facilitate.
Enablers of safe innovation. That's the key part.
That context helps a lot. But it does make you wonder, why do we need a special program like this? Are the old ways of checking medical devices just not suitable for AI? Or is it something deeper?
That's a really critical point. And James Pound, who's the interim executive director for innovation and compliance at the MHRA, he addressed this directly.
Oh, okay. What does he say?
He said, and I'm quoting here, traditional regulatory pathways weren't designed with AI's unique characteristics in mind.
Like what characteristics?
Well, like its capacity to analyze large quantities of data and help automate existing manual processes, things like that. Basically, AI learns, it adapts. Sometimes it's a bit of a black box. You don't always know exactly how it reached a conclusion.
Right. It doesn't fit the old static approval model.
Exactly. It just doesn't fit neatly into those old boxes. So the AI Airlock is specifically designed for that gap. It creates the supervised place where these new technologies and the challenges they bring for regulators can be looked at safely.
Supervised testing ground. Makes sense.
Yeah. And Pound also really hammered home the potential here. AI could improve patient outcomes, free up NHS resources, and enhance the accuracy and efficiency of healthcare services.
Huge potential benefits.
Massive. So what this really signals is that the regulators get it. They know one size fits all doesn't work for tech anymore. They're almost becoming well, like agile partners in the development process,
Mm.
which is pretty new territory for oversight bodies.
And this isn't just talk, right? They've actually done a pilot phase already.
They have, yeah,
Yeah.
a successful pilot phase. They tested 4 different breakthrough AI technologies.
4 of them.
4. And they've said the results from all these projects will be published later this year, which should give everyone some really valuable insights, help shape the program going forward, and maybe even wider regulations.
Okay, so let's get into those examples. What kind of things did they test in that first group?
Right. So one example was from Philips. It was called their Radiology Auto Impression Project.
Radiology auto impression. Okay.
Yeah. They were testing using generative AI, the kind that creates text, so to automatically write the final impression section of a radiologist's report. The bit that summarizes the key findings.
Oh, that's a critical part of the report.
Hugely critical.
Yeah.
And what they said was really telling, I thought. They described the collaboration with the MHRA experts as almost unheard of.
Really? Unheard of.
Yeah. And that it acted as a catalyst for meaningful progress. It apparently really sped up their development because they involved the actual users, the radiologists, right from the start in figuring out how to test it.
So getting the doctors and the regulators involved early on.
Exactly. That direct input from both sides. It sounds like a really powerful way to do things.
That does sound much more efficient.
Yeah.
What else did they look at in the pilot? Any other cool examples?
Yeah, another really interesting one was called OncoFlow.
OncoFlow. Sounds cancer-related.
It is. It looked at using AI to help doctors create personalized treatment plans for cancer patients.
Wow.
And think about the potential impacts there. They reckon it could help reduce waiting times for cancer appointments.
Which means earlier treatment.
Exactly. Earlier treatment, which could potentially make a huge difference to a patient's chances of survival.
That's incredible. So the airlock helped them how?
It gave them the chance to actually validate their product, but in a simulated clinical setting, and to really, as they put it, pressure test it against real regulatory standards.
So kind of like a trial run for the real world, but within this safe space.
Precisely. And they said it really accelerated their progress, moving them from idea to a validated MVP, that's minimum viable product, basically getting it ready for the next stage much faster.
That's a massive leap, getting something like that closer to actual use. Were there others in that first batch?
There were 2 more, yeah. One was by a company called Automedica Ltd.
Okay.
They were looking into the regulatory side of using something called Retrieval-Augmented Generation, RA.
RGAE. What's that in simple terms?
Okay, so basically it's about combining those powerful large language models, the AI that's good at generating text.
Like ChatGPT and others.
Exactly. Combining those with really solid, verified databases of information. The whole point is to make sure the AI's output isn't just fluent and smart-sounding, but actually factually accurate and trustworthy.
Which is absolutely vital if you're using it in medicine.
Absolutely critical. You need that reliability.
Yeah.
And the last one was a startup, Newton's Tree.
Newton's Tree. Catchy name.
Yeah. They tested something called a Federated AI monitoring service, or FAMOS.
Okay, FAMOS. What does that do?
Its job is to spot and deal with potential risks when AI is actually being used in hospitals or clinics, things like performance drift.
Performance drift.
Yep.
You mean the AI getting less accurate over time?
Exactly. As it sees new real-world data that might be different from what it was trained on, its performance can subtly degrade. So FAMOS tries to catch that. Or other safety issues.
And the federated part, does that relate to data privacy?
It does. Federated learning means the AI models can learn and be monitored across different places, like different hospitals, without having to pull all the sensitive patient data into one central location.
Ah, that's clever. Important for healthcare data.
Very important.
Okay, so that pilot sounds like it covered some really cutting-edge areas for people listening, maybe innovators working on AI for healthcare. What happens next with the airlock? Can they get involved?
Yes, definitely. So as we mentioned, applications for the second group, the second cohort, opened today, June 23rd. Right now. But the window is quite short. They close on July 14th, 2025.
Okay, not much time then. What are they looking for?
There are specific criteria. Candidates need to show their AI medical device could bring real, significant benefits to patients and the NHS.
Makes sense.
It should also represent a genuinely new way of approaching treatment or diagnosis. And, crucially, it needs to present a specific regulatory challenge that's suitable for testing within the Airlock program. They want problems they can actually work on together.
So it's quite targeted. They want specific types of projects. And just to bring it back, this whole thing really highlights the MHRA's role, doesn't it?
It really does. I mean, fundamentally, the MHRA is the body responsible for regulating all medicines and medical devices in the UK.
Everything.
Everything. Their core job is making sure these products actually work as intended and that they're acceptably safe to use. And all their decisions, all their work is based on solid evidence, fact-based judgments. It's always about balancing the benefits against any potential risks.
Right. That safety aspect is paramount.
Always in healthcare.
So, stepping back then, what's the big takeaway here? What does this deep dive really tell us?
Well, I think it shows the UK is being really proactive about this huge challenge,
Yeah.
regulating AI in healthcare, which is evolving so incredibly fast.
Mm.
And they're choosing not to just clamp down with old rules that might stifle things, but instead they're creating these controlled, collaborative spaces, environments for safe and faster development.
So finding that balance.
Exactly. It highlights that really delicate but absolutely essential balance between pushing forward with amazing innovation and making sure safety and proper oversight are robust. Especially, in a field as critical as medicine, this kind of forward-thinking approach could really set a template for health tech regulation.
It really could. Which leads to a final thought, maybe. What if this airlock idea, the sandbox model they've designed for AI in medicine, what if that could work elsewhere?
You mean in other tech sectors?
Yeah, or maybe even beyond technology, areas where innovation is always running ahead of the traditional ways we oversee things. Could these kinds of sandboxes change how we develop and regulate new things across all sorts of industries?
That's a really interesting question. How widely applicable could this model be?
Something for you to think about until our next deep dive.